you hit record?
Mm-hmm.
What's up? What's up, YouTube? Different setup. We are in Midland, Texas, in Jay Mayo's office. Episode 74. Jay's right here.
What's up?
Got some friends, Ashley, Jamie, and Sam. She is hanging out. So we're on the 5th floor of a high-rise here in Midland. I don't know if it's high-rise, but a building here in Midland. We're going to be recording.
5 floors.
5. There's 6 in
It's
there.
a low rise.
Low rise. Genius. Low rise. Anyways, episode 74. Make sure you guys share this, comment, do whatever you got to do. Yeah. Ready, dude?
Yeah. Guess.
Everybody good?
What we're talking about.
Yeah. Here we go.
As usual.
Yeah. I didn't plan ahead. Failure to plan is a planning to fail. All right. Here we go. Ready? 3, 2. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Made for More Consulting Podcast. Mario here. We are on episode 74. We are off-site as well. If you're watching YouTube, if you saw our live that we posted today, it is Friday, June 3rd. And we did a live really quick on Instagram to show you where we were. We are in Midland, a building where my buddy Jay has an office. And we are recording today here. So go check it out on YouTube. And again, thank you for listening. If it was your very first time listening, we are all about leadership development, personal development, through motivate, inspiring, encouraging people. Because as leaders, if we don't lead the way, then we cannot lead people around us. If we're not growing, then the people around us aren't growing. So thanks for listening. Go back and listen to episode 65. If this is your first time listening, you'll hear a little bit more about Made for More. So, Jay, welcome back to the podcast, dude.
Good to be back. Good to see you guys.
Yes, sir.
Always miss y'all. Wish y'all would move back.
We have an announcement to make. Actually,
Whoa.
no, I'm just kidding. We don't. We're not moving back at all. My wife's
Jamie just
yeah.
passed out.
Yeah, she did. She about hit me with something. No. Yeah, West Texas. On my live, I said, if they didn't watch the live, I said that one of the ways you know you're in Midland is I went to the restroom and above the urinal it says no tobacco in the urinal.
It's a problem here.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Everybody.
People don't chew tobacco in Austin.
No, dude. Whatever. They complain because people are.
It probably says don't empty your bong in the urinal.
That's it, dude.
Can you edit
That's
that
it.
out?
No, that's it. Okay, so Jay's back. Man, so real quick before we get started, what are you reading right now? Dude, are you reading anything? What are you reading to grow?
What am I reading right now? Podcasts have been a big staple still. I'm listening to, I mean, that's not what you asked me, but that's mainly what I'm reading right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to know the things. Been reading technical stuff like.
What do you got there?
Counseling books.
Counseling books.
Yeah, well, this one's called by Daniel Amen, End of Mental Illness. He's really talking about the. You've heard me talk about EMDR. We're getting way off track.
EMDR. It's okay.
So
Go for it.
it's kind of that kind of a therapy model that deals with kind of helping people process trauma and things like that. A lot of that leads to depression and anxiety and all the above. So I read a lot of counseling resources.
Okay.
Then podcasts and listen to Mosaic. Made for More. I do every week.
You should tell Adina what you think about her.
What? She's awesome.
Okay.
Now you're gonna make her think, but it's already a known fact she doesn't like me.
Yeah. Anyways,
Or John.
I was just kidding, dude. I was just kidding, Adina. He said that.
I said you
did a
were
really good
awesome.
job. Yeah.
He's acting like he said something. Listen to Mosaic podcast. The one I've been listening to about already that Aaron and Erwin do together. And obviously Jocko and Made for More, and yeah.
Let's go, man. So you're constantly reading and growing.
Yeah, I love the podcast, even the ones that are topic specific, like yeah, because it's easy to put on while I'm working out.
That's good, dude. That's good. You recently moved, right?
We moved from in-town Midland to Greenwood.
That's where I grew up.
Where you grew up, so
Yes, sir. Old stomping
yeah,
grounds.
it's a pretty cool place, neat community, and
It's growing, man. That's what I heard.
it's funny when we pulled up, we were moving stuff. A bunch of people showed up from the neighborhood and knew we were coming.
Oh, near.
That was a little odd. They're
Yeah.
like, we heard y'all were coming.
Yep.
I was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, we knew, like word on the street. They knew, like exactly. So it was cool. We love kind of being out there and quieter. you don't have street lights.
Mm-mm.
It's something funny you don't think about,
Yeah.
but you can see the stars a lot better
Yeah.
out there because.
Yeah, you're out in the country. The other part that Jay was telling me about over lunch was the dirt.
Oh my God.
When you live in Greenwood, there's no storms except dust storms, and every crease in the house gets filled with dust.
There's a lot of cotton fields and different things
Yep.
nearby, so it's just, we're having to get new windows because we might as well have no windows. We'll wipe the window sill and then we'll have literally like a sand dune
Yeah.
on that window sill the next day.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man, being out there.
Yeah, but it's cool. So
Cool,
far
man.
we're trying to get acclimated out there.
Awesome. Well, today, man, I wanted to give people the opportunity to visit a landing page or a website that you created. But before we even get there and tell them why to go there, I want to talk about what you started. And I know typically we say start with why, but let's just we'll get to the why eventually, man. But when it comes to something that you just started, I don't even know what my role is on that team. I know I'm on that team.
Yeah. You are a board member and a officer.
There you go. Oh yeah, that's right. Because we
Yeah.
talked about
For the
transition
formation
out
of it,
that.
we needed 3 officers.
Mhm.
And so you have to have president, secretary, treasurer, just 3-part officer.
Yeah.
I'm probably saying those backwards, but I wanted you to be on the board, so
Yeah.
you're also a board member
That's cool.
and work for free as an offer.
That's true. So we do work for free. Everybody works for free at my company as well. So one of the things I was going to ask Jay, okay, so what is it called, man? What is it that you've created? What's the name of it?
It's called Epic Warrior Foundation.
Epic Warrior Foundation.
Epic Warrior
So
Foundation.
tell me why Epic Warrior and like why the name? Let's not get into what I guess. Just tell me why Epic Warrior.
Epic Warrior Foundation exists to come alongside first responders in their battle every day to protect and serve. In fact, our official exists to help equip, empower, encourage first responders in their daily battle to serve and protect. And so we're focused on first responders, active duty. That's not really a term that way, but like everyday first responders all across the board: law enforcement, fire, rescue, EMT, even dispatchers,
Yep.
even I think we'll even do some support in the critical care, healthcare, and ICU, emergency room stuff. So yeah, just trying to help them stay in the fight. They go through trauma and difficult situations. They're our worst days. They're every day. You know,
That's a
and
good way to put it.
It cumulatively has an effect on their lives, and so we can talk a little bit later about how we want to do that. I just, for the last 3 years, primarily in law enforcement too, just saw that and thought, man, who is fighting for these people that fight for us? You know, so
Yeah.
that's why it exists.
So what drew you to first responders? Like why?
It really came out of the last 10 years here. I did a lot of volunteer support in Midland with the police department. I just do ride-alongs. I had friendships with those folks, and the more I rode along with them, I saw the bigger community of first responders, and I think I would just suppose, which is the reason we're going to start the podcast that's parallel to this. Once you kick me in the butt and get me over being a chicken, you would have no idea what the everyday is for a first responder.
Yeah.
And what they deal with, what they encounter. But then the bigger piece with the foundation, I started thinking about the last 3 years is there's so many gaps in them being equipped and trained to do what they do every day to protect and serve. And a lot of that's financial gaps with just budgets in there. And so I kept thinking, man, they do what they do sometimes on a struggling budget, but they're putting their life on the line. And I was like, gotta be a way that we could help them have everything they would need to do their job the best. And and then also the support to kind of continue to heal day to day from a lot of the trauma and difficulty they see. And so it started again with doing ride-alongs with some of my friends at the PD, and we'd have conversations. I wish we could have this, but we were struggling with this, and I'd just ask them how they're doing. Part of my ride-alongs were me kind of like doing a little counseling on our ride-along. and asking them how they're doing, who checks on you, and so
That's cool.
It was my own experience with them thinking, I just feel burdened to do something about this.
Yeah. So one of the things, stopping right there, trying to think through our listeners, and some of our listeners may be on the verge of wanting to try something, do something, step out, whatever, jump, whatever you want to say, as far as like on their own. And I guess what I want them to understand is that you are strictly a counselor, and then the friendships and relationships and proximity with these ride-alongs. I think some people think that, hey, I have to commit to, I'm a counselor, but yet I have a passion for people in this realm, whether it's first responders, whether it's, I don't know, customer service, whatever it is. But what I want them to hear is that wherever they're at and they have this gut feeling of, hey, I want to stand in the gap and do something, how our calling or our expertise or whatever you want to call it meets our calling, and it's not what it looks like. Because I don't know if you thought that you'd be in a counseling room, which you have been in a counseling room where you counsel people, but man, in a ride-along, now it's launched an Epic Warrior Foundation nonprofit to help first responders, and it all started with counseling. So
I think for me, I had maybe kind of a focus of where I thought my competency was.
Mm-hmm.
I can support them in counseling, which I can. But then I saw the bigger need, and I was like, who's doing something about this? And then I talked myself out of it. Well, I don't know how to do that. I'm not smart enough to do that. I can't. Every single thing you can think of, who's going to give money to that? Like, what am I? I had every excuse why I couldn't step out and take a risk to meet a need in an area I didn't feel. Well, that's my deal, my competency. And through your encouragement and just bumping me, because we were just through Made for More and us just talking about this, I thought, well, what's the worst I could do? Fail. What would be worse is for me to look 10 years from now and wish I had risked to do something and regret it. And so,
that's good, man, because some of our listeners, that's what I want. I mean, that's why we exist, is to encourage people to take that leap. It's not easy. I mean, we're not saying just go quit, but I mean, if there's a passion, desire, a calling in your heart, and you have an expertise, why not meet them in the middle, use both, and go after it, especially if you're going to change people's lives. So Epic Warrior, for the people in the front lines as far as first responders in different areas, right? So Jay, when you talk about trauma with them, one of the questions that comes up for me is, what are some of the challenges of the first responders? They come on shift, you said they see some of our worst days are there every day. Give me an example of some of those things that they take home. I mean, I got to think through, some of the people in my family right now are related to a police officer, people that are close to us, and what they bring home, and they have kids. But give me an example of maybe some of the things that you go, this is what they see. So that there's some people right now that maybe go, why would you help first responders? I don't get that. So
So there's the diverse kind of answer to the question. But for example, you mentioned they have kids. Let's say they had kids, and the majority of them do, and they step into a situation, and it's a tough crime scene, and there's a kid involved, and there's a death or a situation. I mean, human nature is we identify. Like, it's just part of who we are sometimes. When you see someone grieving in pain, you go, well, gosh, what would I do if I lost my kid? And you identify with that traumatic experience, and so it just affects you. And that's true in counseling, that's true in other contexts. So that's one way where they see pain in situations, and especially if they weren't able to, where they weren't called in time, they weren't able to do it. Sometimes when they come in a difficult situation, resolve it, save the day, they feel like, hey, they fought evil and helped. But if they come into these situations that feel like, I didn't do enough, I didn't, and then what if that had been my daughter? Well, they carry that. But here's the deal is, they turn around and go on another shift, and might see 3 more of those the next shift. And so it just has an effect on you. That's one aspect of it. But then another cumulative effect that I'll eventually talk more on the podcast we start is, they see the worst in society.
Mm-hmm.
So they see the people, I mean, if you can imagine, majority of people that they're pulling over stop and they're trying to not tell them the truth about what's going on.
Yeah.
And so part of the struggle is they live their shift, and it's not all bad, but I would say like 90% of what they're doing is stepping into hard situations where people are hurting other people, and that where people are trying to steal, lie, cheat. And so the struggle is for them to not get such a jaded perspective of society that they're like, everyone's like this. And if you've seen someone that's been in that situation, especially law enforcement for a long time, you might think, well, they're above. No, they're not. They don't see a person that every person they talk to, they think, you're probably lying to me. Everyone they talk to lies to them. So it's this cumulative effect of how it affects. So you can imagine kind of taking on this posture of, I don't trust anyone, I have to interrogate everyone. Well, how do you step back and engage your family after shift after shift and be a dad and so it is a weird, I'm going to say this, and it's totally I don't have this personal experience, but it would be like in the military, you may be deployed 6 or 8 months, then you come back. And you often hear military guys say, when I'm over there, I can't think about my family, I'm going to trust they're safe. But just think about being deployed every 12 hours and coming back home, being deployed, coming back home. How do you turn on that posture, turn it off? How do you engage emotionally with your kids, but try to put an emotional guard up 4 hours later? And then it just, again, they just see, I don't want to traumatize people listening, so I'm not going to, but they see things you could never imagine, and you would never want to imagine. And they're the ones that respond to clean up that scene or to deal with that situation. And so we're not made to experience trauma, but again, that's why 1% of the population are first responders, and the rest of the 99 are the ones that run away while they're running toward it. So
Definitely.
It's a unique group of people. Like, who would want to do that? Who, if I said, hey, you want to do something that's probably going to mess you up and traumatize you
for the rest of your life.
Nobody wants to do it. And then, hey, at the end of that, probably 80% of the people that you helped are going to turn around and criticize you. You want that job?
Right.
Who would sign up for that?
And you're underpaid, probably.
And you're underpaid, and then you add into it the pieces of that we hope with Epic Warrior. Part of it is dealing with that piece, that behavioral health support. The other pieces, and then how about you do that with limited equipment and limited training, rather than the best equipment in the world and the best training in the world, to protect and serve, but also to keep you safe so you can go home at the end of the day. And so, man, it's an incredible challenge that,
Yeah, man.
So
I keep thinking through, just listening to a book I told you about at lunch, it's Own Your Past, Change Your Future. And he talks about fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and because he said, you fight or flight, that's run away. Then he said you freeze. But then fawning, I think, is where he said you're making a deal with somebody to say, I'll do what's right if you don't hurt me, or I'll do what's right if you let me. And so he said no person should be, if you're constantly in that state of mind, fight or flight or freezing or fawning, whatever, as a normal human being, your mind again goes into these things of depression, anxiety, all these different thoughts, being alone, all that stuff. But then if you add on top of that to go, I have to show up for work, like you're saying, all those things, they can't flee because that's their job. They can't make deals. They can't freeze because if they do, they're living with that. So they have to do the fighting of, I have to step into the situation. And yeah, some of them are called to do that. They feel like that's what they've always wanted to do, which is amazing. Like you said, it's 1%. But to do that over and over and over again, that's a really good analogy of going, man, an example of just going, I'm doing that every single day.
Yeah, I can't remember, if I took a minute, I could think of the percentage, but like, so this is a generalized statement. The average person might see one traumatic scene in their entire life. And yet, law enforcement, fire rescue, the multiple times they see traumatic situations in their life. I mean, it's just the resiliency they have to have is unbelievable. And like to, I've been through some traumatic stuff in my life, and then as a counselor and as a hospice chaplain, and then, but like, man, I battled some of those images for 7-8 years, and so.
Yeah, man, and then to raise kids on top of that and try to show them the best in the world, that there is good in the world is tough. So on that, man, I'm trying to think through Epic Warrior coming alongside someone, and like you said, it's not just those people on the street that are like a fireman, a police officer, paramedic. I mean, I think through the people that are fielding those calls, the dispatchers, the people at the hospital that have to talk to families. I mean, those are things that you leave going, man. I just remember sitting in a courtroom hearing a 911 call between a pretty traumatic situation, and I to this day I don't ever want to hear it again. And I'm thinking that's what they have to hear all the time.
Dispatchers, if you've never met a person, they are unbelievable, and their role is even they're listening to a call, providing comfort, calming people down, sometimes giving specific direction for what they can do in that moment. At the same time, they're dispatching their team.
Yeah, man.
And then hoping that they're getting the right information to those people. But they're like officers will often say, or any first responder, like they're the one person wherever you're at in the middle of the night, they're on the line for you. You're not alone. So if you need help, they're receiving those calls from their own team of help, and so they're incredibly. I don't know how they stay as calm in a chaotic situation in a 911 call. And if you listen to some of those, they're just amazing people to be able to multitask and not walk away and just be like, okay.
Yeah, and then, dude, just to go back and think about some of the headlines that I read this past week. I mean, and this is outside of Texas. I know we just had a horrible shooting at a school, and then this thing in Oklahoma. But when you think about every weekend in Baltimore or Chicago, and what did it say, 59 shootings in one weekend in Chicago. And I'm not downplaying anything. I'm just saying, think about the people behind that continue to show up when people go, why do you live there? Why don't you guys just move? Why don't you get a job at a different police department? So those people are still showing up, believing the best in humanity to go, I want to make a difference in this city. And they need help. Like you said, they need resources, they need funding, and again, sometimes maybe it's just encouragement and it's counseling to go, there's people out there showing up when a lot of people have already given up. And to me, that is a hero. That is someone going, I'm going to do it. Because they see, I guess, I mean, for me, I would think I'm not in that position to go, I have kids and I want them to understand that their mom or dad is a hero because they're fighting for what's right. That's tough, man. That is a tough place.
That what you described is kind of the heart of why the word or the phrase epic warrior, it's not like when you hear like Epic Warrior Foundation, like some comic or something. But what it really is about is how do some people in society fight warrior for a story that is so much bigger than themselves. And so epic in this sense is not big. It's this the word for story. They're fighting for a bigger story. How do these it's almost like going, there are people in the world that exist that are real warriors. They are warriors who fight for a bigger story. And these are everyday warriors. These are people that you don't know until you have your worst day. And so that's really the heart behind it. And soon we'll start the podcast that kind of parallels Epic Warrior Foundation. It'll just be called Epic Warrior Podcast, telling the stories of everyday warriors. Because I want people, in that I want to change society's perspective of first responders. Like, you don't know their story.
No.
You can sit and pot shot whatever you want to from the cheap seats, but you don't know their story.
Yep.
You don't know why they get up and do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know what their day is like. So
Exactly.
it'll be an interview with first responders of just like, hey, tell me how you got into this, tell me your background, tell me, and then, you know, what's your everyday, and
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the hardest things you've been through, what are some of the most encouraging things you've been through
Mm-hmm.
in your life. And so it's understanding that there are people that walk among us that are epic warriors every day, and most of the time they go unnoticed until tragedy happens in your life, or something public happens, and then they become the point of the target of attack. But that's kind of the term epic warrior, fighting for a story. And that's a theme in my life. We have talked about it for 20 years. Like, I want to fight for a story bigger than my own, and an epic story. So
and man, it's just crazy because, again, what you and I talked about at lunch is, I mean, within this room there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Sam also, it doesn't matter how old she is, each one of us, 5 people, I can't count. There's 5 people in this room right now whose stories are completely different from the age, from being born, that when you get in this room, you go, at some point we've all connected, but our stories are all different. And I don't know what kind of day you've had, you don't know what kind of day I've had, but there's a point of contact, there's a point of connection, there's this point of, again, we can communicate, but the minute we get in a room, we connect, you go, wow, they're a human being. That's the person on the other side of the phone, that's the other person on the side of the badge, whatever. So I think, man, that's amazing that this is what the organization wants to do. Epic Warrior wants to be there for first responders, support them. And I think when you support them, Jay, obviously it spills over into their family, right?
Right.
So, okay. What, because I keep thinking through the Epic Warrior podcast, and when you say it on here, what sucks is when you say something out loud, there are people going to hold you to it. So we have heard that Jay's going to start a podcast, but also, man, there's a couple of guys. There's he'll know who I'm talking. Alan from New Orleans is a police officer who heard us on Made for More, just happened to hear us, and he's reading the books with us. He emails me, he messages me all the time about what he's learning, but how he's transferring that to the PD there and the people he's maybe over in leadership. Told me about the challenges, but he, again, in New Orleans, we have a connection through a podcast because he's listened to us, and now he's connected to John and Grace Parks from Oregon, and so it's crazy the connections that we've made. But then I think through our circle of influence for a while at Rock Point, and one of the guys as a U.S. Marshal, just the stories that he has of chasing down some of the worst people in Texas, and again I keep thinking of what you said earlier. He's pulling someone over, and he's not thinking about his 3 little kids, his wife. He's pulling over someone because they're on the Texas Most Wanted list, and he knows he has to take them down. He cannot be thinking about his kids. He has a job. I mean, I get it, he can, but what I think we've heard, and again, I have no experience to think or talk about this with, outside of knowing that he has a job to do and he's really good at it, so he's going to execute what he needs to do. And to think that that's just one dude, and we have them all over the state, all over the country, all over the world. So when you think about Epic Warrior, do you think outside of Texas? Do you think, how big can this thing get? What do you think there, man?
Yeah, I think initially, we're focusing on proving out a support, because I have this big, mad scientist structure in my head, and so we want to prove that out where we're at, and then, but we're our initial focus is state of Texas, and but I don't know. I mean, it may be only because when you just look at Texas, you're like, okay, how are we? And that goes back to me feeling like just a peon out, how am I gonna make let me just start where I'm at, and but the goal was to say, if I looked at all the fire departments, police departments, all of the first responder departments in the state of Texas, will take the rest of my life to figure out how do we make sure they have what they need to do their jobs. But we, at the same time, also my heart has been huge for military, and so who are first responders, right? So, But I think right now we're trying to say, let's start in the state of Texas and see what happens. And specifically, we're proving it out first in Midland, Odessa, starting with the folks we know in this community, and beginning to, because what we want to create here is a model for how a regional epic warrior kind of support structure would happen. Because we want it to be born out of your community, so we want to help you get behind your community, and as we do different events to raise money for Epic Warrior, we're going to look regionally to begin to say people would want to give. Right? You give to the people you know are connected to your story and your community. So
that's awesome, man.
But yeah, I think we're shooting for the state of Texas now because that feels so massively big. But we've already got contacts in Oklahoma outside of that, so it's going to be cool to see where it all.
Yeah, man, and I think that's good. Start where you can, right, and begin to make a difference. And then it's just like a wildfire. People are going to catch what's burning, and that may burn in their heart to go, hey, I want to bring it to Dallas, or hey, I want to bring it to Weatherford. I want to bring it to Austin, to Leander. And to me, I'm going, that's where you go. Their heart beats for people, an epic story, and the warriors on the front line, and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing, dude. And like you said, contacts, they're obviously out there. There's another gentleman on our team, I don't know how much you want to say about him, but he has a pretty big background in law enforcement as well.
He does. He's the first guy I'm going to interview, and I'll let him
talk about that.
He's super discreet.
He's a cool guy, man. He's a really cool guy.
He is former involvement with FBI, and he's an incredible leader. But he's super funny.
Yeah.
About that, like, still sending me secure emails.
Yes.
I think because he knows the potential.
Yeah.
That. So yeah, he's a board member. Cool. Corey Richardson.
Cool, man. Well, we'll hear more from him.
Yeah.
Obviously through the Epic Warrior podcast.
Yeah. Dude,
so you told us why this is started. You told us a little bit about what's going on in your heart and why we started it. Like the what and the how. For example, can you give the example of what was given recently to help?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it department neutral. But so the 3 goals, you get better at wording. The 3, is it a what or a how? The 3 hows.
So when you say
what things
why,
we're gonna actually.
Yeah, the
I should know this.
No, it's okay. So the why, obviously, you shared with us, right?
Yeah.
But your how is what you do that no one else does.
Gotcha.
And then the what is you're basically every organization on the planet knows what they do. These are products they sell or services. But the how is what separates you from everyone else. How is this the heart of what you do? So I don't know if that makes sense. But either way, just go for it.
So what we have done, and I'll give you the local example, but basically the 3 goals that we want to, how we want to support first responders is to provide critical funding for the best tactical and defensive equipment to do their job, to stay safe, to protect and serve. And that's a weakness in so many departments.
Oh yeah, man.
You'd be blown away. And it's a struggle in funding sometimes.
Yeah.
Secondly is to provide the best professional training for their job, whether that's, if the fire department or EMT, they're like, man, we wish we could get this training. So sometimes that's how it'll happen. We should get this training, get this person in here. We're like, okay, let us fill the gap of what you don't have the budget for. So
let us do it.
To train, to do your job the best. Because here's the deal, it helps. We want to protect their life, but it helps the community. We had the best trained people doing first response. It's going to help your community. And then last is this whole bigger piece of when that impacts you, behavioral health support, family, any kind of counseling support, but also appreciation falls into that category. Yeah. And so it's letting them know when and I use the phrase kind of keeping you in the fight. Because a lot of times we, in these situations, we just burn someone till the point of burnout. and then after the fact, after the quote battle's over, then you kind of get your wounds looked at. We're trying to say, we want to keep you in the fight.
Yeah.
You don't need to wait. So if we can provide some support to help you stay in the fight, and so those are the three things.
Okay.
So locally, you know, it was funny. I think we filed all of our paperwork last, like, I don't know, late last year. I'm thinking in my mind it's going to be 8 or 9 months. I've done something nonprofit before. It took almost a year. So in my mind, I'm already scared doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Start filling the paperwork out, and then I'm like, what am I doing? And then
Yeah.
I'm like, well, at least I got 8 or 9 months to be nervous about it. And we get approved in 90 days.
Yeah.
And I get the letter. I think the letter is going to say, thank you, we've received your paperwork. And it says, thank you, you've been approved. And I'm like,
I remember that.
crap, now I got to do something. And we had, you know, we joked about I opened the bank account. You have to have $100 at least. So I put $100 in there, and then the first freaking maintenance fee came out. So we had like $73 in the account. So I'm having this conversation with the local department, like, hey, what are your needs? And they're like, well, you know, and it was so simple but so huge. And
yeah.
Just without giving specifics, it was like one of our special units upgraded some gear, but the gear that we upgraded to doesn't have the capacity to have hearing protection.
Man,
that mounts on your.
You don't think through that, dude. You do not.
So I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, the old stuff doesn't fit on this because these are. And I'm like, what do you do? And like, well, you either put that little soft, you know, gummy bear looking thing in your ear, or what most guys do when we're breaching a door is they stick their finger in their ear.
That's crazy, dude.
Blow a door.
Yep.
And so it's hearing protection, and the ability to not only have that, but to have comm system.
Yep.
Integrated in that, so that you're not having to go, hey man, you know, like scream to each other. You can actually hear each other in this volatile situation. And so we're like, okay, you know, we got $73. Let's go for it. And we get a bid on it, and it was such a cool connection. And I'm going to mention another organization, Kairos Defense.
Where are they based out of?
They're out of here.
Yep.
And awesome dude, Isaac, with Kairos Defense, is both does tactical training with law enforcement agencies, but he's also has incredible skill and background in equipment and different things. And so, but I called him. He did work for a local company, outdoors company here, and I knew he'd have some access to equipment. So I just said, hey, can you quote this and see if we can get a better price when the first bid came in? And he's like, well, what is it for? And anyway, he had a great idea. He said, well, I have both these rigs personally. I have the one they want, but I have another one I think might be.
Yeah.
So we set up and actually went to this unit tryout, and I brought him with me, and he demoed it with the whole team.
Wow.
And they got to try either one. They're like, oh, this one is a better application. And
so
it was cool that they got to see it.
Yep.
And we were like, just get what you want. We're going to believe that funds will come in. We're going to fight. I'm just going to go to work and go for it. And so they picked what they wanted, and the team kind of all was on board. And then, so I just started reaching out a few days later for people. The first contacts of like, I'm just going to start reaching out to people that have shown interest to support Epic Warrior. Here's what we need. And anyway, in the middle of that, Isaac reached out to one person, and he called me that day. He was like, this guy's going to give the whole thing himself.
Dang. That's
2
awesome.
days into it, we got $73. And I'll tell you the amount, but like it was massive.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
I was like,
exactly.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
And so we're in process of, we're probably 8-10 weeks out from that all the equipment coming in, but we'll get to meet with that department and through a partnership with the Epic Warrior Foundation and Kairos Defense and maybe this other organization if they want to be public.
Yeah.
Just say, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
And we'll have geared up a team.
That's cool.
And so, yeah.
It's cool to see that there's other men and women that want to fight for the same thing in different, whether it's resources, whether it's training, right? And you work together to go, hey, we need to put this unit through whatever. The whole, I mean, one of the things we've heard is, what if you put every unit through jujitsu training?
Yeah.
I mean, the only way I hear about that is through Jocko, and he's saying, what if every person that's in law enforcement, EMS, whatever, instead of using force it unless it's needed, what if you are able to take them down? Or else, what if you ask them and they say, I've never done that?
Yeah.
Well, let's do it. Let's put them through training. Let's get them the best so that we have the best out there.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
So yeah, it'd be a first project.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Meanwhile, your other 2 board members can't find their debit cards.
Yeah, we're trying to deposit a check this week. Someone else gave, and none of us know our PIN numbers.
Yeah.
So do an ATM deposit. So we're pretty new in the process.
Yeah,
But we promise if you give, we will find a way to deposit.
Yeah. So on that note, if someone's listening right now, Jay, and they say, hey, I'm a first responder. What would you, obviously we can't be all over the state of Texas or the United States right now, but what could Epic Warrior do for them? Hear their story, get to know you. What would you say to a first responder?
Our plan at this point is to, if you are a first responder in your department, we'd love to connect with your department, and we don't know. Again, we're so new in the middle of it to say, we want to meet your department, meet your, your key leadership, and just simply go, what do you guys need? If you could have equipment and gear, or even training in the three areas, what do you guys need to do your job better, protect and serve? How can we support you and help you? So that would be the first step, to connect us to a department, and then we'll see what their needs are, and we're also going to be a networking piece to connect. Like if it's training, we're not doing the training.
Exactly.
We're going to connect them to a team that can say they're great at this training.
Leave it to the best to do them.
And so we want to facilitate it and provide funding to get it. But so that's one way, and then I'll have to think through. And as a first responder person, obviously I would love to. Put a person on the list that said, I'd love for you to come on Epic Warrior Podcast and tell your story. Yeah. And so those are the 2 prongs now. What we're going to do is proactively reach out to systematically fire chiefs, police chiefs, SO chiefs, every department. I'm a regional chaplain for Texas Parks and Wildlife, game wardens, and so there's state police. We're going to systematically reach out to their leads and ask the same question. Yeah. We're Epic Warrior Foundation. This is what we do. What do you need?
Yeah.
How can we? But if you're listening, you're a first responder, I would say you can go to our website, epicwarrior.org, epicwarrior.org, and really when you go to that first page, if you just put there's a contact at the bottom, it'll send an email directly to me. Just send me an email and tell me, hey, this is what's going on. And if you're a first responder that needs help personally, and you're like, and this is how we've set this up, by the way. Everything we do with you is disconnected from your department, intentionally. Your department's not going to know if you need family support, if you need counseling support. So if you're a first responder listening, you're like, I'm going through some stuff, and we have a program. But here's what we found: 99% of the time, they will not access a program that's within their department because of their fear of either feeling like they're weak, or they're going to get pulled off the line and not be able to continue to do what they love to do, so they don't get help. And so this is 100% confidential. We'll facilitate connecting you with the support you need, and do the best we can to fund it. So do the same thing. Go to epicwarrior.org and fill out that contact list, and come to me, and I'll just reach out to you and say, hey man, how can I help you work through whatever you're working through?
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see that a database all over Texas that Epic Warriors helped or is represented by. So, and then lastly, man, what about someone who's listening right now that goes, hey, that fits the heartbeat of what I want to do. How can I help? Do I give? What do you need?
I would say 100% boldly, give. I want to challenge you to give to an organization that's sole purpose is to come alongside the 1% of people who fight to protect and serve us every day. And so the things we've talked about through equipment training, that those are the focuses of our foundation. And so that what we would love is this first phase of startup is going to also require some infrastructure to be built with how do we respond and connect and network. And so we need donations to give. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, so everything can be tax deductible. And so but for right now, because we primarily want to be a connecting foundation, we're not going to say, hey, if you want to come work with first responder, that's not us right now.
No.
It doesn't mean we're not going to do some of that. But there may be ways, like with appreciation things, if you want to host an Epic Warrior event that we'll eventually do, whether that's take a group of first responders on a fishing trip or a hunting trip, or take them and their wives on just a getaway. We want to create some events each year that are just appreciation events. So if you're like, hey, I've got a place that first responders could come, that is something we'll directly be involved in. And so reach out to us, and you can go to epicwarrior.org and to give. There's a link on there that says donate, and you can give, or you can reach the contact. If you want to send a check to us, you can just reach out on the contact, and I got to update our address because since I moved, it's our home address.
There you go.
But yeah, give to it, man. And sometimes we'll have project-specific things that we'll post on there that like, hey, this is a specific project that we need to raise money for. But right now, we want to be able to go to these organizations and first responders departments and say, what do you need, and have the ability to say, we can provide that. So right now we need startup funds.
And you're also on social media, right? We're on social media as far as Instagram and Facebook.
I think so.
We are,
yes,
I think.
We are. Yes, we have a Facebook is Epic Warrior Foundation, and then Instagram is at Epic Warrior Foundation.
There you go.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Alexa didn't work.
Whatever. That's cool, dude. So that's Epic Warrior. That's awesome, dude. I think that we'll have quite a few people listen to this, obviously, in the state of Texas, in the cities that we're representing, but also all over the United States. So if you can give, you can and help out, please do so. I mean, make it an opportunity for you to give back to help those that are serving and protecting. So I appreciate it, man. It's been good. I appreciate you sharing that stuff.
Thanks for pushing me to do it, and your friendship, and
man.
Your kind of heart and leadership through Made for More. As we pushed each other, you continue to push me to do it. And thanks for that, and then thanks for getting suckered into being a board member.
Hopefully I don't get fired from that, man, because I gotta find my debit card and my pen. But anyways,
don't spend all that money in one place.
Anyways, guys, if you have any questions for us, you can obviously, like Jay said, go to epicwarrior.org, epicwarriorfoundation.org.
Just epicwarrior.org.
Epicwarrior.org. Or you can email madeformore at info@madeformoreconsulting.com, and we can get you connected. However that works, make sure you follow them us on social media and Epic Warrior. Also, make sure that you share this with people that are in law enforcement, first responders, EMS, fire, anyone that is a first responder. Please share this with them because we want them to be seen. We want them to know that they are appreciated, and especially if someone's struggling that maybe doesn't want to talk about it out front, because again, they make an impact in where they lead, and we want to make sure we take care of these people. So thank you guys for listening. On the Made for More front, we are going to have one more. Are we recording one more podcast later? We have another podcast that we're going to record, more so on leadership, probably here. That'll be episode 75. And so Jay and I will record another one. But this one, again, share it, let people know that it can help. And I appreciate you guys following us, giving us support, give us a follow, rate us. As Adina says, give us 5 stars. And Yeah, you got anything else, man? Is that it?
No, sir. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, man. My daughter's asleep. She's almost fallen asleep because of our podcast.
She's super bored.
Yeah, because Jay didn't have any candy. And so, anyways, yeah, I appreciate you guys listening. And as always, remember we exist for more. We're here to offer more. Don't ever give up. Every single one of us is made for more. We'll talk to you guys later. Boom. Hey, that was good. Oh, YouTube. You got anything for YouTube?
What is YouTube?
It's just our
Oh,
video.
that's lectures.
Jay's new to,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah, go to epicwarrior.org.
Yeah.
And keep a lookout for Epic Warrior Podcast. As soon as I
Definitely.
learn how to
Heck yeah.
record and post a podcast.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
And
Guys.
we'll have some merch and stuff coming up too.
Heck yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
Later.